Hi everyone, number one Marmaduke fan here with one of my free comic books. Uh, this is a little bit of kind of number one fever from the early 90s. This is number one of Teen Titans, but it's part 3 of 9 of an ongoing story involving the Teen Titans. This It says collect all 5 editions. They weren't just variant covers. Each of these 5 editions had a different secret origin for the 5 characters on the Teen Titans. And then the last part, I think, was the same story, which was the continuation of Total Chaos. So I went ahead and just bought the digital edition just to compare it with this one. And the digital edition has all 5 origin stories and it has all the covers. So I wouldn't bother to go scrounge up all 5. I just get the digital edition. I dig it. I'm hopping in the middle of a story and it's crossing over with Teen Titans, it's crossing over with Deathstroke, so it feels like it'd be kind of hard for me to go scrounge up everything involving this story. But lot of strengths. I guess I'm only jumping into the 90s comic scene about 30 years too late. But anyway, my thoughts on this. I think this is a great example of, I read How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. As a kid, I read it in high school, I read it through college. That book helped me become a better artist because of its emphasis on dynamism and energy. And I think I see in this book DC playing catch up with Marvel and making comics with the dynamism that marked the Marvel age of comics. And I like the black and white ads, but punchiness, not wasting our time. So this is an introduction of a new group of characters. They're kind of anti-heroes who are trying to kill Donna Troy to prevent the birth of her son, who's going to be Lord Chaos. He's sort of an all-powerful god Hitler. And the Team Titans want to kill Donna Troy before Lord Chaos is born. So these are origin stories for new characters who are essentially anti-heroes. And we start right in the middle of a giant fight, and essentially stormtrooper clone evil empire types showing up. This is a real elementary level super evil empire, good resistance. If you were a social justice warrior, you could look at this comic and say, yes, I'm just like the resistant and Trump. He's just like the evil empire, and miss the point that this is supposed to be a really simplistic, really black and white morality story where we sympathize with the freedom fighters and we want to see them defeat the over the top evil empire. This is melodrama. This is heightening everything beyond the realm of realism to be punchy in telling the story. So we just understand the broad strokes. Okay, I could tell evil empire resistance instantly and then not waste 3 issues building up the evil empire or having political metaphors. We're getting into the action. So Mirage disguises herself as a dead man to be with a wife as she's giving birth, because I guess she wanted the wife to have her husband there while she was giving birth. And then the Empire breaks in and Mirage reveals herself and attacks, and she's captured by the Empire and told that she's going to undergo conditioning. They're not exactly consistent on her skin tone. Sometimes she's bright red here. On the cover, it's barely discernible that she's different at all. It's like the same hue, but the slightest bit darker. But she's some sort of alien with sort of copper skin tone. And sorry, America, but just because you have copper skin tone and you're from space, that doesn't make you Native American. But anyway, let's keep going. So she gets this is a bit ham-fisted. Like this sergeant gives a whole speech about how freedom is death, and he's going to knock their silly notions of freedom out of them in training. And he lets loose a falcon and he shoots it to illustrate the point. Freedom is death, and she's given a feather by this guy Abraham. And Abraham makes the comment that he kind of supports Lord Chaos because Lord Chaos has... Man, so why is he named Lord Chaos? But Lord Chaos has brought order to the galaxy and stopped the food riots and anarchy, which is something I like in Star Wars comics, where they kind of acknowledge how the rebellion is essentially anarchist and would lead to decades of disorder and death and war in the galaxy. The Empire might be evil and they might blow up planets, but it might actually be better for the galaxy to have a little bit of a civil society where Jabba the Hutt isn't always killing you, or criminal alien gangs aren't killing you. A empire which would stop that kind of stuff would be a good thing, which is why so many people like the Empire. This isn't even as subtle as Star Wars. There's nothing redeeming about the Empire. The Revolution is very sympathetically portrayed, but whatever. My whole point is that that's not what's important. The world building isn't what's important. The character and the emotion is what's important. So Mirage is teamed up with Abraham for training, and then they work together, stopping riots and shooting people. They have a take no prisoners approach. And here's where the stakes start increasing. I have an idea for a video series. It's loosely inspired by Jellopocalypse, where he would do 10-word reviews of Disney movies. My idea is to do 10-word reviews of the old Spider-Man comics, starting with Amazing Fantasy 15. But the point isn't to do a joke about them. The point is to try to summarize those comics at the most simple level possible to illustrate what I think is an important point: pacing and stakes. My hypothesis is, if I summarize the first 20 issues of Spider-Man, Amazing Fantasy in the first 19 issues of his own comic, down to 10 words, and then just you could read all 20 of those issues and get the same feel. But if you summarize them down to 10 words, then you get kind of a feel for the path that Spider-Man's life is taking, the kinds of things he's going through, how his life has changed. And my hypothesis is, if you compare that with, say, Spider-Gwen or Squirrel Girl or America, you're going to see a night and day contrast between the stakes and the emotions and the drama of Spider-Man in the 1960s, and the lack of stakes, the lack of emotion, the lack of drama, and the lack of moral character in the SJW Marvel. And I won't even need to editorialize. I think just doing this experiment will make the point for me. Any other thoughts about that? I guess the tricky thing is, when I summarize the comic, I want it to have the plot and kind of the moral heart of the story. So with great power comes great responsibility is the moral of Amazing Fantasy 15, but that's not the plot of Amazing Fantasy 15. I want someone who's never read Amazing Fantasy 15 to get a feel for what that story is about. So Uncle Ben gets shot. Well, that gives you an idea of what happened in Amazing Fantasy 15, but that doesn't really capture the weight of Amazing Fantasy 15. So I'm going to have this it's going to be a real writing exercise for me, where I've got to try to get the heart of the story down to a 10-word summary so I can capture what happened and why it matters to Spider-Man. And then I've got to do that with Spider-Gwen. So the reason I thought of that is, here's a story with stakes being told really quickly. So she's fallen in love with Abraham. She's defeated him in single combat. Lord Chaos says, kill him to show your loyalty. And she hesitates, and they're both crying, and Abraham tells her to do it, or Lord Chaos will just kill them both, and then she does it. This is so over the top. This is so melodramatic, but you still are invested in it because they are showing us human emotion, and they're giving us a story with stakes and consequences. Things are happening in her life that matter. Even this little thing, she sort of stands by while this little old lady is killed, and this little old lady says something about God be with you, and Mirage says, I don't need God, I belong to Chaos. So we're reinforcing the brainwashing. She has been conditioned to be a slave of Lord Chaos. She is still within that frame of mind, but we're seeing hints of her humanity as she hopes that the real old lady will find God. So this is Mirage transformed into the little old lady. And it's, again, melodramatic. It's sort of like evoking World War II kind of stuff in a sci-fi comic book. But we accept it because all you need in a fantasy story to connect with it is the sense of humanity. DNC just called it verisimilitude in a video. I've heard leftists use that term differently in some of their academic writings, but I think he's right about the point that all you need is the feel of reality to connect with the story and connect with the world, and then you can accept all the crazy fantasy over the top stuff. So this is evoking a really deep, significant idea in our history. People going through horrendous circumstances, war, murdering tons of people in cold blood. And the reason I don't feel like this is trite or meaningless or is making light of the real suffering that has happened in the world is that it is acknowledging that in the context of a fantasy story. We can accept that in the context of the fantasy story. So let's keep going. So Mirage infiltrates and kind of encounters people, and then once again, she's next to a woman who's given birth, and this reminds her of her experience at the very beginning of the comic. Her memory is jogged, and she realizes that she's been conditioned and brainwashed, so she immediately turns on the evil empire and starts fighting them. And she meets one of her friends who presumably is in the Team Titans. We don't get to see it. We don't get to see her story this time. You can read it. I'll read it in the digital comic later. So then this gives us just the... Excuse me. I hope I'm over this soon. I do not like being in the COF elite Navy SEALs team. Anyway, Greek mythology, Lord Chaos is born sentient, essentially. I think that's actually revealed later. So this is almost kind of like if you could go back in time and kill baby Hitler, should you kill baby Hitler? And the problem is, well, we're talking about time travel. So are you going to another dimension? What if you have baby Hitler raised by Jews and he becomes a advocate of the right to life of Jewish people? What if you get rid of baby Hitler, but then some other guy just takes Hitler's spot and starts the Holocaust anyway? It's kind of a silly moral quandary because we don't have time travel. But don't kill baby Hitler because there are other options than killing baby Hitler, and you don't even know if killing baby Hitler will accomplish what you want to accomplish. So one of the weird things about this is that we find out later that the baby's, because it's a Greek god, it's going to be born sentient. It'll immediately age itself and kill Donna Troy, at least in the world of the Team Titans. And the Team Titans have traveled back in time to kill Lord Chaos. So this isn't even like a world where the morals and ethics of our world apply. You don't kill a baby because a baby is defenseless, but this baby is apparently already a Greek god who has the mind of an adult and will instantly have the power to kill people. So I don't know, but so we have the Teen Titans, Robin, Starfire, Deathstroke, a bunch of other characters I don't know, versus the Team Titans who have traveled back in time from the future to kill the baby version of Lord Chaos. The big bad Lord Chaos has come back in time to time travel shenanigans, but big bad Lord Chaos has come back in time to make sure that he gets born. Because once he gets born, he figures he's all set to go. Donna Troy is, I think, the younger version of Wonder Woman from the golden age of comics. So she's the original Wonder Girl and also a longtime member of the Teen Titans. And we got ourselves Mullet, Dick Grayson. We've got romantic triangles. All the characters in the Team Titans. Just come up with a different name. Just call them like Titans of the Future or something. So this Earth Girl, lets us know that all her memories have been stripped from her from Lord Chaos. So now that we've had an origin focusing on Mirage, everyone within the group of the Team Titans is allowed to kind of give us a hint of who they are. We see Starfire, and I noticed a few years ago, around the time of the Hawkeye Initiative, lots of memes went around comparing comic book Starfire to TV show Starfire. And since I'd maybe read one Teen Titans comic book in my whole life, so I liked the Teen Titans show. And once again, it was an argument that had a persuasive effect on me. I said, yeah, I like the version of Starfire from the cartoon, and this version from the comic, well, she's so sexist. They should make her more like the cartoon. There might be an argument for adjusting characters to fit with how you've built them up in the cartoons. If kids really like the cartoon version of Starfire, it might make sense to make adjustments to have Starfire fit more with that mold of her from the cartoon that people are connecting with. But on the other hand, then you've got to transform a character who's already been established within the comics. That's why I think there need to be more Elseworlds and or just, comics based on the cartoon universe of Teen Titans. So you can have the cartoon version of Starfire without having to weirdly transform the personality and dressing habits of the comic book version of Starfire. Because from what I've understand from my very, very limited reading of Teen Titans comics is that the Starfire of the comics dresses that way as part of her alien culture and as part of her, essentially, her expression, right? So it's a little, cheesecakey, but what's the point I'm trying to get at? It's male feminist, it's feminist male gaze theory all over again, trying to go backwards and erase everything. And even though I'm somewhat sympathetic to the argument because I like the cartoon version of Starfire, I know that where this argument always ends up is it never settles on just covering up Starfire a little bit more. It's always the intersectional feminist theory of storytelling is never going to be satisfied because the intersectional feminist theory of storytelling sees problematic elements everywhere and sees these as destructive and dangerous and sinister. So you can't placate them. We've got to defeat their arguments. So the fight's going. We've got Pantha, we've got diversity. Back in 1992, Pantha's fighting this vampire dude. Look at this. Okay. They're upside down, which confused me for a bit, but then because the drawing is so simple, I eventually connected it and figured it out. Earthbender girl is sizing up the situation, and then it's not Beast Boy, Changeling. Changeling is a bug, and he stings her on the butt, and she slaps it. So there's physical comedy, there's fun, it's adventurous, it's cool, and Robin is the voice of reason and stops the fight so that everybody can talk it out, and they agree, and I think they agree not to kill Donna Troy, since that is what the Teen Titans were trying to do at first. And Mirage is trying to kind of appeal to Nightwing. Apparently he falls in love with her in the future. Time travel shenanigans. Too much time traveling. I don't know what's going on, but I'm trying to pick some of this stuff up as I go. And Deathstroke, I did remember that Deathstroke joined the Teen Titans for a while. Mirage sort of tells their story and who Lord Chaos is, and then Lord Chaos takes Donna Troy into space to ensure that the baby is born. And that's kind of I guess she's really distressed and grimacing. That's still kind of an unpleasant expression the way it's drawn. Anyway, it's my boy Nine Fingers. Well, it's his less handsome face. Let's put it that way. If you're on Twitter, if you're in Twitter Comicsgate, you know who I'm talking about. And then Mirage tells the story of, this is so Terminator-y, I can tell they watched Terminator, of a leader who is probably Nightwing starting the resistance and most of them dying, but them defeating part of Lord Chaos's troop. And the baby Lord Chaos is born, and then it looks like Donna Troy is in trouble and maybe being killed. And we've got some great black and white art for other DC comics at the time. I dug the art for this. It's very dynamic. The point I'm trying to get at is punch, wham, pow. Mirage is, I have one issue. I have a feel for who Mirage is, kind of a somewhat amoral anti-hero from the future who is trying to kill someone to protect people, and that's putting her up against sort of the more moral Teen Titans who are trying to protect Donna Troy's life. They've come to an accord, and they're going to go fight the bad guy together. Her life had stakes, and we got a huge, from rebel to soldier to fighting against the soldiers to going back in time to kill the big bad. We have in one issue a sense of who Donna Troy is, and if you read the other 4 versions of this, maybe I'd have a better sense for who the other characters on the team are. I'll read the digital book to get that impression later, and it's a little confusing. It's a little bit in the middle of everything, but it still gave me enough to kind of understand what was going on and to be interested enough to hop in. These books have staying power. I can barely read this dull SJW Marvel Drek like Spider-Gwen. I keep rooting for Spider-Gwen. I keep wanting to like Spider-Gwen because I like experimental and expressive art like Rodriguez has. But it's TV pacing. It's stretched. Give me something. Knock my socks off. So, not the best thing I've ever read from the 90s, but well drawn, well composed, dynamic. I'm interested. And I like the Teen Titans show. Stop making names for things that I can't keep them straight. I like the Teen Titans so much that I will probably go check out more of the Team Titans and see if I can, now that I know I can order old comics from Midtown Comics, I'll probably be able to find all the issues they told me to go read to catch up on the rest of Total Chaos and Deathstroke and the Teen Titans. So, all right, I'm on board. I'm #1 Marmaduke fan. Why don't you like, comment, and subscribe? I still haven't gone through my comics to figure out which ones will be prizes yet. I'm gonna donate this one while I just need time to sort through all my comics and figure out what the prizes are. So for today, we're gonna say that I'll just pick a random digital code for someone who likes, comments, subscribes to this video. To like, comment, and subscribe. I will look at the comments. I will put all the comments in a random number generator, and one of you will win a completely random digital code from my collection that I bought on New Comic Book Day. I love you guys. Catch you later.